Welcome to another edition of the Cultural Arts Corner podcast. My name is John Wilson. I'm the Director of Cultural Arts. As usual, we are coming to you from the pristine, the palatial, the amazing podcast studio at Cobalt Communications. I'm really excited about today's show because this is the first time I've had two guests on this podcast, and I am so thankful to be sitting down with Dustin Petrillo and Bryn McLaughlin, who are two actors in our upcoming production of The Immigrant. So, Dustin, Bryn, how you guys doing?
Great.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Well, thanks for waking up early and for bringing coffee and getting yourself ready as actors often do. The coffee is the fuel, is it not?
Oh, of course, especially after 4 hours of sleep or whatever I got last night.
Right. So I want to ask you both about your journey as actors. I've never asked your age. I won't ask your age now, but it looks like you both are, like in your 20s or so. Okay, all right. That's either a compliment or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay. So the question I want to ask you is about, your journey. Specifically, like, how did you end up getting into acting, and then what brought you specifically to the St. Louis area? And so why don't we do a ladies first, Bryn, and why don't you tell me your story?
Yeah, I am 30 years old.
Hey,
proud of it.
Right on.
Yes, so I'm originally from Mount Hood, Oregon. I didn't really have a theater family necessarily, although I was telling Dustin on the way here, I have a very theatrical family. So I just got curious about joining a drama program when I went to high school. So like a lot of people, I started in high school, did a lot of musicals and things. I did find that I think when you first start out, you get really addicted to the exhilaration of doing plays and productions and just being on stage. But I really did find that around my senior year, I was much more interested in the scene work in class, and we had a Shakespeare unit, and I was like, something about this really, really lights my fire. So I went to Eastern Oregon University to study acting and directing, and I really loved it. And then Eastern Oregon University is in a little town called La Grande, Oregon. It's a farming town surrounded by mountains. It's very beautiful. And there just happened to be somebody who moved there who went to EOU when he was much younger. A good friend of mine, his name is Grant, and he's a Shakespeare person. He's a wealth of knowledge, so he started up a little Shakespeare company in this town, and I got to be there from the very beginning. So I spent about 6 or 7 years in my 20s doing a deep dive into Shakespeare. And then just at one point, I just decided it was time to move somewhere with a little more opportunity, and I wanted to be closer to family. So I had a sister who got into WashU. She had been going to WashU for a bit, and my other sister had moved to Kansas City, so it made sense to come out here. So I moved out here a couple weeks before the pandemic hit.
Oh, congratulations.
I know.
How fun for you.
Yeah, but I will say, I think that from what I gather, it feels like the St. Louis theater scene and art scene experienced a bit of a renaissance coming out of COVID, like a lot of places. But it was kind of sweet to move to a new place and then watch it wake up as you're getting to know it, So I think I don't know, something about that timing. I got to move here, stay with my sister during the shutdown, and it was during a time that I really needed to ground and reconnect. And then opportunities started opening up as I was ready to start taking advantage of opportunities. So the timing was actually, it was a good time in my life to come out here. Everything has been great. So
that's awesome. I also just absolutely love Shakespeare, and I think that's probably what really got me excited about storytelling and about theater. And so I love that's your background. He's timeless. He always will be. All the stories are so relevant and the characters are so rich and and the plot lines are so diverse. All right, so Mr. Dustin, you are up. Tell me about your journey into acting and your journey to St. Louis.
Okay, well, I am 28. To answer that question, I'm about to turn 29 next week.
Hey, happy birthday.
Thank you. I was born in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and there's not a whole lot of art around there, but I was luckily born into a very artistic family. My brother shot a lot of little videos around our house and stuff, and he always cast me in them as a little kid. And I just loved like watching and obsessing over movies and then going out in my backyard and reenacting them and then coming up with my own ideas and then just sort of playing movies, improvising. Like, I guess a lot of kids do that, so it wasn't crazy, but that was sort of my acting training up until high school. I didn't do like any local community theater or anything. And once I got into college, I wanted to go to film school, but I was a little afraid to leave Wyoming at that point. So I had to settle with an acting program at the University of Wyoming. It was fine. I ended up, I've always sort of been like go with the flow with acting, and I never really quite knew like what my next step was doing that. So my first couple of years at the university were a little rocky with whether or not I wanted to continue pursuing it or find another back pocket kind of thing. And then I switched to the musical theater program because our department was sort of switching over that way. And while I've always been more interested in film acting and more like straight plays, I think that was great training for getting me to really like come out of my shell. So by junior year of college, something just clicked in me that was like, oh yeah, I can do this. And I got the confidence to. I met my partner there, who I'm still with today, and we started doing summer stocks after we graduated college, where we met a local here named Caleb Long. A lot of people probably know him. And we met him as well as a lot of other St. Louis people during the summer stock. And they all kind of convinced us that St. Louis was this up and coming great arts town. And we kind of were in between like whether or not we should go to New York or LA or do like a little stepping stone first and get that confidence to know that we could make it. And just St. Louis at the time felt like a good option. So we packed up our car and moved to St. Louis and kind of hit the ground running, honestly. And I was here for about 8 months before the pandemic hit. So we came here around the same time.
I love how impeccable your timing was to come to a place to do live theater to only see it shut down for a year. So once again, really congratulations.
Thank you.
On your ability to, I'm being very sarcastic right now. I know, Dustin, you're a very sincere person. It must have been incredibly frustrating, but it also sounds like it allowed some time maybe to like, melt into the community, establish, the daytime job or whatever, that you needed to start making ends meet and whatnot. And then, and then as, like you said, Brent, as things started to like, wake up, you guys were right there, ready to jump back in and restart theater. So, that's awesome. Let me ask you, just staying with theater and with your journey, one or two maybe favorite roles?
You want to hit that first?
Sure. The best roles that I have ever played were roles that I had no idea they were just not even on my radar. It was like something happened and it was out of necessity. I had to step in, or because I was living in a really small town. So there was already not a very broad like acting pool to work with, let alone like Shakespeare trained actresses. So I got to play Henry V in an all-female production of Henry V, and that was like at a time in my life where I really needed to be surrounded by strong women. So that was an awesome experience. I just got done. I went back to LeGrand over the summer for a Shakespeare festival that my friend Grant is starting up, and I got to play Hotspur in Henry IV Part 1, which I never would have thought that I would play Hotspur, but they had somebody drop, and it made sense to cast Hal and Hotspur both as women because they happened to have like two women who were ready and able to step into those roles. So that was really awesome. There's a role that I have played before that I would really like to play again when I'm actually the right age to play her, and that is Mrs. Kendall in The Elephant Man. The Elephant Man is one of my favorite scripts, and I love that character, but I was able to play her when I was like 26 or so. Again, it's a very small community, and she's not supposed to be 26. So I got a lot out of that experience, but it's kind of like playing any Shakespeare character where you can play Hamlet when you're 18, and then you can somehow still play Hamlet when you're like 25, and then you can come back and play Hamlet again when you're 35, and it's still, it all works. So I hope that I get to play her again someday.
Yeah, that is a beautiful, beautiful play.
Yes.
I mean, every one of those plays that you mentioned, I mean, what an opportunity for a woman to step into the shoes of Henry V. I mean, that's really, really awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of gender bending that is always being played with Shakespeare, but I really enjoy you can't do this with all Shakespeares because you will lose dynamics, but there are some Shakespeares where it is very interesting, or it just works really smoothly to just, remove gender entirely. And just so like stepping into Henry, at first I think I was really bogged down by like, how do I be a male presenting, or how do I be a man? And then we just stripped it of that, and it's just the story of some dumb kid who is suddenly thrown into a position of power and doesn't know what to do with it, and so is pretending to know what to do, and every choice is not sincere, so it's never going to work, and trying to figure out what it means to sincerely be a leader. And that is a pretty dang universal journey. So it was cool to just strip it of gender and just say, like, let's just be the people that these characters are. So yeah, it was a great experience. That
is so awesome. I directed a production of Julius Caesar and just decided, we had so many women in our department, and I just thought, well, we can come up with a concept in which, many of the fighting men have already been, killed off, call it post-apocalyptic, whatever. I mean, that wasn't necessarily the concept, but we just justified in our own way that it's going to be mainly, women who have risen to power. And so to give some females an opportunity to play Brutus or Cassius or whomever. And so Mark Antony. And so, yeah, it was really cool. And it's neat to see that different energy take on the language and take on the roles and really, make that their own and everything. And so, I like that kind of stuff. All right. So, Dustin, favorite roles?
I was sitting here thinking, and I think I have like 3 genres of different roles that I've played that I really enjoy. So my first, I really love a good villain. I think being intense and crazy on stage is really fun. So Judas in Godspell was one that I did that really broke me out of my shell and felt pretty cool. That was a fun one. And then my first show in St. Louis actually was JD and Heathers, the musical. Which is like a super complex musical, doesn't get the credit it deserves, but that was quite a challenging role. And yeah, villains, a lot of fun. I would always love to play another villain. I also love like character poppy roles, like playing multiple characters in one role. And the one Shakespeare show I have done was with Ozark Actors Theater, doing a production of King Lear, in which I played like 8 or 9 characters, spanning different ranges. And like you said, that's another one of those shows that like someday I would love to play King Lear, or I can't remember Kent. Yeah, just a great show. And then the third genre is that I'm kind of falling into now, that I'm really falling in love with, is just like a really well-rounded character journey. I think once this show, The Immigrant, is said and done, Haskell will be one of my favorite roles that I've played, if not my favorite. And I recently played Peter in Peter and the Starcatcher, which is a crazy journey that character goes on throughout. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm into right now, but I love all 3 of those things.
Thank you. It's so great that you have that wealth of experience, and it doesn't surprise me that I say, why don't you come up with 1 or 2 roles, and I get 3 3 or 4 or 5, and I get like genres from you, Dustin. So I just love that.
We love acting.
That's right. We love to talk about the work. We love to talk about our experiences doing the work. And so, well, one thing that is certainly true in the smaller cities is it's very rare. There's very few actors that can actually support themselves with acting only. It's just, the numbers and the number of opportunities just don't often work out in some of our smaller cities. So you always have to find, that a couple side gigs or that main job that is like supporting the work that you want to do. So talk to me a little bit about what you're doing when you're not acting.
Yeah, I made the very conscious choice when I was in college, and I was really checking in with my mental health, and I was really concerned about if I would even survive attempting the try to make it a career thing. And I made the conscious choice to be okay with having a day job that I like and that is stimulating and pays the bills, gives me stability, and to then, spend my free time pursuing theater as something more than a hobby, but just barely a step below career. I do consider theater to be my career, but it doesn't pay my bills. And I think it's the best decision I've ever made. I work as an admin in one of the fundraising offices for WashU, and I love it. It's something I never thought that I would do. I didn't know anything about fundraising before I got into this position, and it's just this very intellectual world that I step into every day that I can leave at the door when I go to rehearsal, and I can exercise, my creative side. And I think that's something that I really wish had been proposed to me when I was a young actor. Is I wish somebody would have just said, it is okay to look at this option, and this is in fact a really viable option, depending on where you live. So I do think we were talking about how I don't know. I don't have negative feelings about having moved here in a time where there was no theater happening. And I think a huge part of it was that mindset. I have a huge budget in my life for having to take care of myself. So I can't give all of that budget to, auditioning and prepping for auditions and the stress of rejection and, trying to book odd gigs that I don't really want to do. I love having the agency to say, I don't care for that production. I'm going to pass up that audition. I love being able to say that show doesn't fit with my values. I don't want to be part of that. So I'm going to go this way. And it does make rejection easier to manage. I love auditioning. I love callbacks. Mm-hmm. The stakes are not as high for me because I'm not relying on it to pay rent, so it's given me a lot of lightness, I think, in how I can approach theater. So
thank you.
Yes.
Listen, I was teaching in the university level for 20 years, and so much of that is a stress that students take upon themselves, and it transfers into the family, and parents start wondering, how in the world is my kid going to be able to support themselves and stuff like that, and that's really the most positive take that you can put on it. The entire craft is a journey, and you are always going to have jobs that are supporting what you're doing. And you may be one of those few that get to that place, where you are actually, it's everything that you're doing. But man, what a great point to say that, you don't have the stress, of having to know that this audition is going to be the thing that gives you groceries or, pays the car payment or whatever, and so, that is such a great mindset to have. So yeah. I mean, seriously, that's so positive and so healthy. Take first things first, make sure you can make ends meet, make sure you can live and do what you need to do. And then for however you can participate in the art that you love, great, and when you can't, okay, well, you've got a job that you can go to and sustain yourself with and everything. So yeah, really, really good, wise thoughts from a 30-year-old, no less. I'm so impressed.
Why is that young?
So Dustin, what sustains you?
Yeah. Strangely, before COVID happened, I was somehow supplementing my whole income on acting when I first moved out to St. Louis. Now, I was 23, so I was still on my parents' insurance and like bills hadn't started flowing into my life yet. But after COVID or during COVID, I was able to fall into working at a wedding venue called Wild Carrot in the Shaw neighborhood. Shout out Casey and Laura. And I started as kind of a bar back and helping with setup teardowns and getting like ready for the events. And it's just kind of grown over the years to the point where now I'm a building manager. And I get to work there in the week and help like set standards and make plans for people's weddings, which is nothing I ever expected I would do, but it's a job that I really love. And I totally agree with you that like I have let go of that. I need to grind all the time. I need to get cast in everything. I need to audition for everything. And it's just like taking such a load and weight off of me to know that I have this stability in case I'm ever like, you know what, I need to take a hiatus from theater or whatever. I also think it's a good outlet to have people who aren't always involved in the arts to be around you. And it's just like refreshing sometimes. And yeah, it's just a great gig.
Oh, that's great. All right, so let's talk about what we're primarily here to talk about, which is The Immigrant. And so this is opening October 12th. At this recording, you guys are a week out. This will be airing on opening day. So I hope you're ready. But because anyway, so time bending, I think that's fun. All right, so let's talk about The Immigrant. And what I'd love to know is just kind of your thought, like what have you enjoyed most about the character that you're playing? So we'll start there. What have you loved most about the character journey that you're taking? And then a secondary question, and we can just flip back and forth between these two, is what have you enjoyed most about the process of just being in the play, being directed by Rebecca, being at the New Jewish Theater, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, let's talk about character. Let's talk about process.
Great.
Did you take this first?
Sure. I think for me, what I really love about this character process is that the character of Haskell is so complex in that not only does it span over the course of 40 years, so like you have to make those physical and psychological changes of what happens to a person over 40 years, but it's also given me the chance to, I love a good challenge, so this has given me the chance to dig deeper into Judaism, which I didn't know a whole lot about, and I'm still like learning more about every single day. It really lets me, like learn more about a culture and a language that I had no idea anything about beforehand. It's just, there's so much, sorry, it's such a complex character. There's so much going on in this show that it's kind of hard to put it all in one basket, but it's very fulfilling when it all comes together, and it's fun to be figuring that out every time we run it and every time we work it or read through it or whatever. It's been great.
How about for you, Bryn?
Oh, boy, I really love this. I love this play and I love this character. Something that I've been musing over is the way that the women are written in this play, because they're very well written female characters. And I mean, I won't say that that's rare to find in a male playwright, but I do think it's interesting. I mean, it's called The Immigrant. It's not both of our story. It's primarily following Haskell. And I am Haskell's wife who joins the story partway through. And it would have been very easy to kind of, just set Leia aside. Even like a huge scene that ends the first act is about a month after I have joined Haskell in the U.S. and I'm not adjusting well, and we get in a fight over it, and neither of us feel like we're listening to each other. And I even look at that, and that does not feel like a scene that is written for the benefit of Haskell's story. He gives my character so much agency. And then there's this beautiful scene in the second act just between the two women, Ima, the Texan wife, and myself, Leia, who is young and scared and pregnant. And we have all these cultural differences and we don't understand each other. So we have these fears and trepidations of each other. But it's just this beautiful scene of two women discovering things about each other and bonding over the things that make us, who we are. And it totally passes the Bechdel test, which is awesome. I think we mention the men at one point, but it's not actually about the men. It's about us and our religions and sense of self and our relationships with our mothers. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful scene. So I think that's something I'm really going to treasure for a long time is just, and Mindy is fantastic at who plays Ima. She's just wonderful. She's one of those actors who's really there with you on stage in a scene. And when she grabs my hand, there's such sincerity to it. And so I'm really going to treasure exploring this female bond on stage. It's it represents one of the more universal elements of the play, which is accepting each other. And so much of that story happens because her character looks at me, someone who is lonely and in need, and she makes it very clear that this is, she says, tell me about yourself. She welcomes me in. So there's a lot that I could say about my character, but that's something that's been high on my mind lately that I think I really imagine a lot of women who see this play will really particularly appreciate that relationship. Yeah.
How do you guys like working in the specific space that you're in? I know that for me, whenever I come to rehearsals and watch a little bit, I love the Wool Theater, and it's just such a great, intimate and flexible space. And I just want to say, and for those of you watching the podcast, you'll have your chance to get tickets and learn that information. You have to come see this play because all four actors are just doing, amazing, amazing work. It is, they're not acting. Honestly, they're not acting. You're just getting to see the story. And so I love coming to rehearsal and watching these professionals just work. And you guys, all four of you, are doing a great job. And I love the chemistry that you two have built as a couple, and that sense of, especially when you show up and you're out of your country now, and it's, first he's been here for a number of months, and so the way that you guys kind of find each other again, I think is just a really nice part of the storytelling too. So what do you think about the intimacy of the space that you're in?
Yeah, I love it. I've never done aisle seating before, so that's definitely been the biggest challenge of it, but it does feel very intimate. It basically just feels like a black box at the end of the day, and it's deceivingly a big space. Yeah. So there's a lot of room to play still, but yeah, it's very comfortable space. I like it. Mm-hmm. You probably have a better answer than that.
Oh, no. I love small spaces. If I could only ever work in spaces that size or even smaller, I would. A lot of the Shakespeare I did was 40 people a night. Or I was in a Dracula once. That's the only other time I've done alley seating. And it was just one row of audience on both sides in a dark room. And so you didn't have anything behind you, which made it really eerie. But that was always the approach to Shakespeare that I worked with was less audience means there's more, you can't check out when you're in the seats. You have to be there with the actors. I really like this space a lot. And the other nice thing about, you saying it's deceptively large is when you do alley staging, something that can happen is you play it safe, and so you don't have anybody's back to the audience, and you just do profile the whole time. And because it's large enough to still have depth while doing the alley seating, you're still getting pretty dynamic stage pictures, and there's still room to go the other way. So I think it's a really great space.
Yeah, I agree. Everything I've seen there, that space supports whatever show, whatever text and plot line and everything so well. Yeah, I'm so excited to see you guys bring this to fruition.
It's kind of cool too to think about that. If you see the show more than once, if you're sitting in an opposite, you're seeing a whole different show the next time because you're seeing faces and nuances that you weren't able to see the first time, which is cool. I never thought about that till just now.
Yeah.
So, dialects, Belarusian, Yiddish. Oh my. What an incredible challenge for both of you. You both do not have it easy. I mean, we're dealing with a Texan dialect, we're dealing with this Belarusian Yiddish dialect, and you two have quite a bit of work cut out for you. So what has been like the bigger challenge with learning this dialect and even the actual, Yiddish that you have in the play, but between the two of you when you're just speaking, your native language, what's that been like? Let's talk about dialects.
I was intimidated by it because it's we did the callback and you had to at least try something in the callback. I always get intimidated by dialects, but there's something really comforting to me about how technical they are. And that's why I really appreciate the support that we have had in this process, because I have, as an actor, I've done dialects a number of times where we were not given a dialect coach, somebody who could hold a mirror up to what we're doing and give us very specific direct feedback. Dialects make me think a lot of just choreography, or if you're doing dance choreography, it's very technical. You're either doing the choreography correctly or you're not. There's room for expression within that, and there's room to it's a little malleable, like we've discussed. Yes, we are Jews, but we are from Russia, so we have the Russian influence as opposed to other influences that do affect the Yiddish dialect. So there are nuances there. And then, something we've talked about a lot is that this play spans decades. So you see us at the beginning of our journey when our dialects are thick and we're not comfortable with English at all. Then you see us much later in life when we're settled and we've been doing this forever and it's second nature to us. And how does that affect our dialect? So I really, as an actor, love having something so technical to latch onto where it's measurable. Am I doing this right or am I not? And if it's not, then what do I need to adjust? It's just something, it's nutritional for my brain. I think it's sometimes acting can feel too wishy-washy for me. So I love having something to latch on to.
Yeah. You took the words out of my mouth. I don't have much better of an answer than that. But yeah, the biggest challenge for me is definitely keeping in mind the 40-year span and how the dialect would change throughout that time. Surprisingly, the Yiddish was the easiest part for me to learn. I have a background in German, so there were a lot of similarities that I was just able to pick it up somehow. I got really lucky there, I guess. But yeah, it's
Well, now that we've talked about this, can we get a little bit of a sample of what you guys sound like? We've been doing this recording, just hearing your natural voices this whole time, but I think it'd be kind of fun, just as a little bit of a preview, if maybe we could find a moment. I don't know, something that hopefully doesn't give away a major plot point or anything. Maybe from Act 2 or something, or have you guys thought about what you might?
We discussed a little bit.
Okay, so just start with something, and then I'll just stop you, or unless you have a stopping point yourself.
It ends with a prayer, if that.
Hey, that would actually be perfect, because I wanted to ask Dustin if you would do some of the pure Yiddish that comes from one of those prayers as well. So yeah, let's hear a little bit.
Okay. The first thing we do is the blessing for the children.
who aren't here.
We bless them anyway. They need it.
They all went deer hunting with the Tolberts. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think someone says.
Milton does.
Yeah,
have a
Milton
line.
has a line. I like them to go get outside, but
Milton pesters us to buy a gun. Yeah, all of his friends have one. You say no, but
and cars. If they can tear all over the place in someone's car, heaven. And little Milton is the worst.
Milton's not the worst.
He goes out. He stays late.
All right, we're getting track. All right, the children. Yisimcha Elohim ki Ephraim v'che Menashe. Now I can't remember what. Of course, when I'm on the spot. Let me try that again. Yisimcha Elohim ki Ephraim v'che Menashe. Yivrecha Adonai. Yivishmerecha. Yora Adonai ponav alecha v'chonecha. Yiso Adonai ponav alecha lo yasim lecha shalom.
Yay!
Almost got through it.
Hey, we still have a week, right? It's all right. No, very, very nice. Very, very nice. Thank you guys so much.
Well, I mean, this is something that we've talked about quite a lot, is there's a huge difference between doing a dialect and applying it to words you know. And then there are a few times where like we speak Yiddish, and that is a different ballgame.
Yeah.
Because when you're first learning it, it's just a collection of sounds, and most of the process is like just really breaking down like what exact word is this, because the script gives us translations, but it's like line by line, not word by word, so there's still a lot of homework that goes into putting that together. But yeah, we there's a song in the show that both of us sing at some point that's in Yiddish, and yeah, it's a journey.
Thank you both so much for that little sample. Oh man, I love this show, and I love the work that you guys are doing in it. Let's just end with just thematically, kind of under this larger umbrella about immigration. Do either of you have an immigration story that you're aware of in your own family?
Mine's not. I don't know a lot about mine, but I am third generation off the boat. My grandpa, I believe his family had just immigrated to New York right before he was born from Sicily. And that's all I know. I wanted the chance to get to call him and ask more about it before this, but, time ran out. So, yeah, we're Italian immigrants in my family. We still have the trunk that my parents own it, that they came across the ocean with, which is kind of cool.
Oh,
It says Petrillo right on the
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Bryn?
I know I'd say a vague amount. I don't think that I could deliver it in terms of like a story of when and how or anything like that. But my dad's side of the family is very into genealogy, and they're just some people like my aunt and my grandfather who put a lot of work into keeping track of family trees and doing research and building them. And so I do have a box of photos at home of like historical photos of a bunch of people from my family. So I'm a bit of a European mutt, but I do have a lot of Scottish and Polish in my family. So I was actually, before I came out, I was going through that box this morning, and I was refreshing my memory, and I know Szymborski is a deep dive down my father's side of the family. My mom did not know much about her lineage. She was reunited with her birth father through 23andMe, where she learned a lot. So I know we have some Greek on that side, and lots and lots of Europe. But yeah, I mean, I will say that has also been something that's been really rewarding about this experience and Rebecca mentioned it when I did a radio interview with her, but she has been sharing a lot of her immigration, like her family's story with us, because it has like a lot of deep ties to this play. So if anybody gets the chance to like talk to her or come to one of the like talkbacks or anything like that, like a lot of this has been her presenting us with an insane amount of knowledge of what this time and place was like, and we've gotten to know our director on a personal level that I don't think you get that often because she's so connected to this. So like that's something I have not taken a moment to like just say like Rebecca has been amazing, and she's like this would have been a different experience I think if we didn't have a director who was like this story meant so much to. So it's been really, really lovely.
Yes, she is excited to be making her. I mean, she's been directing for a long time, but she's new to the New Jewish Theater, and so this is her directorial debut, and I think she's really thrilled to be doing it with this particular production. So I'm excited for her, and I'm excited for you guys, and so thank you both so much for being here, for getting up early, and for coming by and spending some time and talking about your journey as actors and your journey with The Immigrant. So thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your help with the production as well.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
We wouldn't have those dialects if it weren't for you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, okay, you can you can present the necessary stuff to the actors, but I mean ultimately all the work really falls on you guys, and so I thank you for being so wonderful to work with and taking it so seriously and being so prepared ahead of the game, even before rehearsal started. We got together a couple times before then, and so I just really appreciate the professionalism, and it's really paid off. I mean, you guys sound great. and it's really awesome. I just love stepping into that world whenever I come by rehearsal and hearing the juxtaposition of the Texan and the Yiddish, and it's a really beautifully sounding play when you start to think about just the sounds of the play, So well, thank you both so very much.
Thank you.
That's going to be it for us on this episode of the Cultural Arts Corner podcast. We're going to put that information, you probably see it right now, the phone number to our box office, the website address if you want to get tickets. It opens today as far as when this is being aired, October 12th, and then it runs Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays for the next 3 weeks. So get your tickets. This show is selling particularly well, and so there are a number of dates that are already either sold out or very close to sold out. So if you're watching this and you thought, that is a show I'd like to see, then turn this off right now and call the box office and go to the website and make sure that you get your tickets. It's a beautiful play, a fantastic debut for our artistic director, Rebecca Scallett. And what a great opportunity to see 4 amazing local actors here in St. Louis pull off what is a beautiful and I think difficult story to tell, but an overall inspiring, beautiful, wonderful story based on a true story by the playwright. So once again, thank you both so much. I can't wait to see this several times during the run, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, you bet.